I will be speaking to Safaraz Ali very shortly. He has become very quickly our in-house business advisor. Safaraz is the CEO of the Pathway Group. He's a social entrepreneur, a published author, and a community activist. Welcome, Safaraz.
Thank you so much. Always great to be back.
Thank you for joining us today. It's coming towards the end of the year, and this is a tradition that we've done over the past, I think, two plus decades. We talk about New Year resolutions. My very first question is, what are your plans for 2021?
I think the first thing I would say is it's very difficult to plan anything if you're feeling overwhelmed or even underwhelmed. So the first thing is about, being able to dig a little bit deeper, maybe ponder a bit of reflective exercise, understand the repositioning that we've had in this particular year, where our direction is, where our purpose is. Try and avoid some of the noise that's out there. There is a lot of noise. There's a lot of hustle and bustle. There's a lot of pushing and pulling as well. People saying certain things, and we've got to start listening to ourselves. I think a little bit more, listening to what our body is saying, what our mind is saying. And don't necessarily follow other people's mantras and wishes and their rights and wrongs. Find out our own. Our own compass, and realign ourselves really with where we are, what our thinking is, and go back to our purpose, whatever that means. Whatever our intentions are. Very important, I think, for us to take that time out and switch off a little bit as well. We've some of us have spent more time with friends and family, or with family in particular, but it's that quality time with ourselves, that quality time with our family, that quality time to really reflect. Yes, there's an element of rejoice, celebrate, and there's an element of looking forward, but definitely be in the present. There's only so much thinking that we can do of the past. There's only so many stories that we can tell ourselves in terms of what's happened and what our beliefs are and so forth. But I think it is about being in the present, and it's also being hopeful for the future and planning us what we can do.
I think what has 2020 has really shown to me and to many in our community is that the world continues to be a very unpredictable place, and the structures that we've relied on in the past, the ways that we've done things, is no longer the same. Everything has been dismantled. It's it's changed so rapidly, so we need to start thinking on our feet and out of the box. What are your thoughts on how things have changed from last year, and how you can apply that knowledge as you move forward?
I think there's a time and a place for everything. There's a time and a place for certain thinking. There's a time and a place for certain actions. I think we need to be reflective of what's happened, but we also need to be able to deal with the present, the now, be adaptable, be resilient. I mean, resilience is a word that's used a lot these days. Unprecedented is another word. Pivoting is all of these words that have come into our vocabulary, but it's about being adaptable, being able to respond to the opportunities, being open to the opportunities, but also having an element where we have the right conversations with our own mind. We have a lot of fear, and we tell ourselves certain stories, and it's really that voice that we've got in our head to sometimes we need to put it on mute, and other times we need to switch up the volume. And it's really being able to reflect and put it into context. I think context is absolutely important. It's also, I think, part of it's also breaking things down into a way that you can understand and also communicate to yourself before you even communicate to anybody else. So from my perspective, really being emotionally savvy, emotionally intelligent, being really reflective, and really going back to your thoughts, your views, your beliefs, and being able to change. I mean, if this year hasn't changed you, then then nothing can. It is a year where I think we have all been affected, and whatever the new normal is, or whatever the old normal or the same normal, now is the opportunity for us to step up and look ahead and uh, and and, and but also be conscious of the now.
Something else that interests me as you move forward, what are the kind of key messages that you would like to leave the audience, not the audience, but our viewers with, as we leave 2020 and enter 2021? Perhaps share a little bit about
Yeah.
what you will be planning in your businesses, and really what we can take away from that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk something practical as well, but I mean, I'll re-echo some of the points that I've said. The fact that we can only change, um, we can only change as a result of some of our actions. So we've got to look at ourselves in terms of what are our actions. If we change our actions, we can change our thinking. We can change our thinking by changing our belief systems. We can change our belief systems by changing our routines and habits, some of the habitual thinking that we have, some of the perspectives that we have. And I think everything starts with us. Your business starts with you. You've got a better business because of you. You've got a better life because of you, and you've got to start with yourself. And we've got to move away from victim mentality, victim mode, blaming others. Take some level of ownership, accountability, and it starts with you, and starts with us in terms of breaking down the things that we can do. And I think I'll echo what my Peer Saab said from Birmingham Peer Saab. He says, you've got to keep growing, and you've got to keep going and keep growing, and whatever that means, whether you're a student, whether you're a whether you're in business, whether you're in your career, you've got to keep at it and keep doing things, keep stretching yourself, keep challenging yourself, and keep being open to the opportunities. But it's also understanding that there are going to be things that you will say no to, and I think it's important to say no to certain things. But and often it's much more important to to be aware of what is right for you and the reasons why you're doing things, and be true to yourself. That's my message. And whether that doesn't really mean much for some people, but that's my core message in terms of belief systems and the purpose and our viewpoints.
I think when you talk about your belief systems, it's very much about how the way that you live your life. You have, I see you as someone who does things in thirds. You have your family life, you have your business life, and then the last third, you do that where you give back to the community through your social entrepreneurial ventures or as a community activist. Maybe this is a bit of a cheeky question, but which one gives you the most satisfaction and makes you feel content? And which area will you be growing further as you go into 2021?
I think I think we're a combination of the whole. So these are parts of us. And it's like saying, which child makes you more happier. They all have a role, and even in terms of siblings and so forth, and you go through phases where you may spend more time in one aspects of it, and maybe less time in another part of it. But it is part of you, and it's part of part of me, and it is the choices that I've made, and so forth. And I think it's important to be conscious of that, conscious of your time, conscious of your contribution, conscious in terms of the impact that you're making, and the footprint that you want to leave. I think it's important that we realize that.
I was also going to say, when you talk about footprint, it's always that scene of like on a beach and you see footprints and you think, I've left a legacy, until the next wave comes along and then it sweeps it away. Yeah. But it's very much about, how do you see some of your community work expanding over the next year? I mean,
I think the key for me is about making a difference, but making a meaningful difference. So it is about legacy, it is about impact, and I think we need to be conscious and very comfortable with ourselves that it's not about us, what our intentions are, and sometimes you are taking the front seat, and sometimes you're in the passenger seat, and sometimes you're not in the vehicle at all. But it's about choosing what's right at the right time. And again, going back to the intention, I think intention is everything. It starts with intention, it ends with intention. And we believe that as Muslims, intention is everything, and you can't do anything with that without the right intentions. And even if it doesn't work out, if your intention is right, I think you're true to yourself, and you can be comfortable with yourself and comfortable in your own skin.
Absolutely. And I know you are a Qur'ani Hafiz, so that will be embedded in every part of your DNA, in how you live your life. But moving back, you're also a published author, and should we be looking forward to any more books? Will you be publishing any more in 2021? And if you are, could you give us a brief overview of what we should be looking forward to?
My intention is to keep going. I mean, I enjoy it. The first thing, that's the first thing. It's not a chore for me. It's not something where I've got a target for the sake of a target, just because it looks good, just because I've done say 3 books and I want to do another one. It's not about one-upmanship. It's not about again, it's going back to the intention. I do enjoy it. For me, it is a hobby. I like to. It's like learning something at sometimes 11 o'clock and teaching at 12 o'clock. It's part of my own growth. It's part of my own development. And some of the times, certain things that we do know, but what happens is they're reminders. Because we sometimes we have cloudy judgment, or there's so much there that we forget certain things. And it's like going to a friend for advice. Whatever they're telling you, most of the time you know it already. But what happens is we're not thinking clearly, and it's the same thing for me as well, in terms of some of the things I'm aware of, and maybe there've been things that I've been subconsciously applying for 20 years, but you're going through a process where you're reminding yourself, and retuning yourself and reevaluating, and it's, for me, it's I do it for myself.
It's very much that Sufi philosophy that you've underpins everything that you then go on to do. So that's interesting.
And you can pick things up and nuances up, and and it's about you've been in the restaurant trade and so forth previously, and it's like you go to a restaurant, you will look at it from a different perspective. You'll see the customer service, you'll see the reception, you'll pick things up that maybe a traditional customer won't. And you're more conscious, you're more aware, your reticular activation system is activated. And the same way with myself, when I look at a book, and I pick up a book, and I pick up maybe a video, or what people are looking at, I will evaluate it from a different perspective, from my own journey and my own views, and I'll say, how does that correlate with myself? So the first thing that you want to do something is for yourself. It's not about necessarily for one-upmanship, as I said. It's not about keeping up with the Smiths, or with the Khans, or whatever. It is about yourself. And again, it's that your reasons why. Yes, so I hope to have a book out in 2021. I've not agreed yet in terms of what the title might be. It may be the fact that I come out with 2, and I'm working on 2 ideas simultaneously. But this is what keeps me ticking. So one of them is about how you can scale a business. And not everybody, and I'm not here preaching the fact that every business should be scalable or should be scaled, because I'm a big believer in terms of what's right for you, and I'm not here to judge. So some people will look at it from a lifestyle business, some of it will look at it in terms of this is right for me for now. because it fits in with my objectives in terms of where I am with life. And some people will look at it in terms of, yes, I want to scale a business because that's what I want to do. I want to be the best version of myself, and I want to be able to push myself. So this business is about scalability and what scaling means, what a definition of scaling is, and how you would actually grow a business in terms of the systems, the processes, the structure, where the business can run without you. And the first thing that, the first way you scale a business is you've got to make yourself redundant, really. You've got
So
to,
this is really succession building that you're talking about in this
and even,
particular scenario.
and even not necessarily about legacy and succession. It's about how you can operate a business which relies on systems, where the systems and the processes are doing all the hard work. It's not about what's in your mind or what your thinking is or and your experience. It's about how you can create a system, a process, a brand that is stronger than your personal brand, is stronger out there, and the brand will attract customers, and the customers will become hopefully raving fans, and the systems that you've got and the process that you've got can be adapted, and you can scale that up in your own way, whatever that means, whether that's a second branch for you or whether that's bigger opportunities or whatever that means in terms of a different market, or or moving from uh, uh, one type of business to one vertical to another. It could be that. And so whatever is right for you. I think that so there's an idea regarding scalability, and the other idea that I have, which could be another book, but at the moment it scribbles on a notepad, which is about coaching. I think coaching in the workplace is absolutely um, critical in terms of how we relate to each other, how our management styles are. We talked about there's a difference between a leader and a manager, and we've gone through college and university where some of that thinking may not necessarily relate to now. Some of it, a lot of it does, and some of it is very much this whether it's been there for 50 years, 60 years, that thinking is still there and still relevant. But some of it in terms of how people learn and how people what makes people think, and how people how you get the best out of people is via coaching. By some of it's via peer coaching, peer support. Some of it is through um, uh, being in a position where it's a line manager um, type of relationship, and some of it is in terms of the culture that you have within an organization. How do you create a high performing culture within your business? So these are the two sort of ideas that I'm toying with. But whether they come out in terms of a full blown book or not, that's a different matter. There may be just articles. There may be they may come out as a published book, or it might be another idea. But I've got quite a few things that I'm thinking about. But for me, it's about also thinking, what do I actually take forward? I mean, we can all there's a lot of ideas that we all come out with, but it's actually which idea do you want to bank on? Which idea makes the biggest difference? Which idea gives you the biggest sort of challenge? And which, and also part of my journey as well in terms of, what's going to be the biggest learning for me. Because as soon as I go into a subject and you go into deeper, you're also learning, you're researching, you're looking at that and so forth. So which has the biggest impact for me is the subject that I'm going to be sort of talking about and writing about.
I think you and I could talk about that offline, because we could talk about shadow boards and reverse mentoring. So yeah, it's a huge field, and it's basically, if you have a diverse workforce, it's about skilling them up to take those opportunities and lead their teams, which is only a bonus for an organization. So thank you for that, Safaraz. Before we say goodbye, what we've done in our previous episodes, but when we've had you on, is very much about that sort of like take home message, or that quote which you share with us, which lets us reflect as we move forward. We'd love to hear the latest one from you, Safaraz.
Okay. The first thing from a couple of key messages that I'll say is we can you must have heard the saying about paralysis by analysis. We can sometimes overthink, and it's about really getting clarity of thinking. So I'm currently saying to everybody, if you can think in ink, If you can write your thoughts down, that's the next level of thinking. So, journaling, writing things down. It's not right. Writing isn't just for authors or students. Each one of us in our own way, whether you write in Urdu, whether you write in, record your thoughts, record your thinking, because it'll give you clarity of mind. You'll be a lot more clearer. So if you can think in ink in your own way, definitely do that. That's something that I recommend. And my final thing that I'll leave you with is, there's a saying about a Chinese bamboo tree, and it takes 5 years of growing, and you don't see anything, and you think nothing's happening and nothing's happening, and you don't see the results. But what happens is that the results all come within 6 weeks. So you've got five years of undergrowth, 5 years of nothing happening, and you're sort of going away and you're doing your thing and so forth, and you sort of in a position where you think, I'm not getting the results. Why am I not getting the results? But what happens is the results sometimes come very quickly. And so in this particular case, in the Chinese bamboo tree example, the results come in 6 weeks, but we sometimes give up a little bit too quickly. And then when that happens, when you see the results in 6 weeks, people think that it's an overnight success. It's not an overnight success. You've had the 5 years of work in this particular example of beforehand, but you're seeing it all in 6 weeks. So I'll leave the Chinese bamboo tree as an example. I think keep plodding along, keep doing what you're doing, and keep going and keep growing.
Thank you so much, Safaraz. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us again at such short notice, but it's always a pleasure. And again, we love having you as our in-house business advisor, because we come to you for our words of wisdom. So thank you so much. Have a very happy new year when it comes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Riaz.